This is my first ever book haul video, but with a bit of a twist because I got all of these books in my library and a couple of them on Facebook Marketplace. These are all books that I've specifically chosen because they are from countries from all around the world, and specifically countries where I haven't read much, or in some cases any novels set in those places, or perhaps even by authors from that country. Hi, I'm Steffi from Books That Teach Us. I read a lot of books and I share what I've learned from them. I have just gone and got a load of reading for my upcoming holiday, and I want to share them with you in case you get inspired for future reads, especially if you're trying to do a reading around the world challenge. Before we start, I want to introduce you to my reading map and tracker that will help you if you're trying to read from different countries around the world. Welcome to Mapped by Books, a unique and fun way to track your global reading, all made by me. If we come over here, we have our blank map to start with. When you click on My Books, you will find your reading log. So we can fill in the country. I just read a book set in Australia. I can track book title here, the author. I can add a date finished, and I can add a rating over here too. The coolest thing that happens then is that we go back to my reading map. You will see that Australia is coloured in and that it's logged here as countries read and percentage of the world's complete. It's perfect for people who love global reading and trying to read more books from different countries set all around the world. Okay, the first book that I want to talk about is Claire Keegan, Small Things Like These. This is all set in Ireland, and on the back it says it's going to be like a modern classic. So it's set in the 80s in Ireland and specifically focuses on one man, and it is his job to go around delivering coal to the houses so that they can heat their homes. And when he does that, he discovers that there are a lot of young girls and young women in one particular area. And then it all kind of unravels from there about why these girls are here. Some of you might know where this is going. This might be completely new for you, so I don't want to give any spoilers. And it looks like a really, really short novel. So this might be a good quick win if you want to read a book from Ireland and you haven't read one from there before. I have actually read a couple of books from Ireland before. So stay tuned and subscribe if you're interested in hearing about my best books set in Ireland in the future. I'm really excited to read this book because I've heard of it, but I never really realized what it was. And so this is a collection of short stories. I'm not sure if they all intertwine a bit or not. I'm kind of hoping they do. And it is called How to Pronounce Knife by Suvankam Tamavongsa. As some of you know, I live in Southeast Asia. I love reading books set in this region. And this is definitely one of them. I've actually already read the first short story in this collection. And the author herself was actually born into a Lao refugee camp in Thailand. So her nationality is actually potentially Lao and Thai. And the first book that I read was really, really sweet. It's all about what it's like to grow up as an immigrant family, and when the children actually become better at English than the parents. And that's why it talks about how to pronounce knife. This particularly struck a chord with me because I am an English teacher. Of course, the word knife has a silent K at the beginning. And the novel is just really sweet, but also made me want to cry a little bit because it's about the children and how they realize like that actually they start to know more than their parents, and perhaps actually end up having to help their parents out when they all relocate to a new country. And so I'm really curious to read more of the short stories in this collection. I don't actually love short stories most of the time. I'm quite excited to read this. I do a lot of work with refugees in Thailand, and anything that you purchase, from my book globe to my book tracker and map, some of that money will go towards helping urban refugees in Bangkok, which is a cause that I care deeply about. And I know several women personally that I help out every month. So these kind of things mean a lot to me. This next one I just picked up because it had an unusual title. It is called Phenotypes by Paulo Scott. This is all set in Brazil. I was hoping to get a Brazilian author because I've read one book set in Brazil before, but it was not by a local author. So I'm really excited to read this one. Just a little bit at the beginning, it says, Federico, the white passing mixed race narrator of Paulo Scott's stirring new novel, grips you from his opening word. It says it's a powerful, complex, and very ambitious voice in the contemporary Latin American scene. So I'm really excited to know this. I really don't know anything about it. Literally just saw it in the library and thought, oh, I really need to read a book set in Brazil for my Reading Around the World challenge. And so I'm really excited. I think it sounds like it's going to be really eye-opening about Brazil. There's a lot in it about class and culture, race, social inequality. So I'm really excited. It is a translated work. And so I am also going to do a whole series on books that have been translated and what I think of the translations of them and whether I feel it affects the story or not. So subscribe if you're interested in that in the future. So excited to read Phenotypes. Okay, my next one is Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rees, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I really didn't know anything about this, and I just bought it off someone on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm really intrigued by it. So I think when I first picked it up, I didn't realize it's actually a classic, even though I should have done, because obviously it's a modern classic, so not my smartest moment. So I believe it is inspired by Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, which is a great book. I recommend it on my classics playlist. Go and watch that afterwards if you haven't watched that yet. It is all set in Jamaica, which I'm really excited about because I've read Small Island before where parts of it are set in Jamaica, but it's quite a lot about the Jamaican British experience. So this is really interesting. And we're not actually sure when it was written, but it was published in 1966. The author herself, she was born in Dominica in 1890 and born to a Welsh doctor and a white Creole mother. And I believe that will affect the characters that are in here as well. So I'm very curious about this bit. I really don't know what to expect at all. Let me know if you've read it and what I should expect in the comments below if you have. Very curious. Okay, another book that I picked up that I think looks really fascinating is called God's Bits of Wood by Semben Uzman. And again, this was a translated work. It's all set in Senegal, which is where the author himself was born. He also lived in France at different points. And I don't know if he wrote this in French. Can't find that anywhere. I'll let you know if I find it. And it's all set in African nations in 1947 to 8. There's a map at the beginning, which I love. The idea that I'm going to learn quite a lot about these different places. And I think it's about some kind of about a strike that happened. I believe there's going to be a lot of colonial links in this book. So I'm really, really curious to read this one. I've had it sitting on my desk for a little while and I really want to get started. Okay, my next book I picked up because I thought it had quite a curious looking cover on it there. And it is Misinterpretation by Lydia Zoga. I don't know how you pronounce that. I apologize. And this is all set between the US and Albania. So the writer herself, she was born and raised in Albania, but currently lives in Brooklyn. So I think it's going to be a lot about the kind of US experiences of an immigrant. And I believe this particular character returns to Albania. And so I'm hoping to learn quite a lot about Albania and that region. And I know there's a lot of history in that area that I'm quite ignorant about. So I'm really looking forward to learning more when I read this book. So I will definitely keep you posted about that. All right, my next one, I actually on purpose picked up a young reader book because I am a teacher and quite often students come and ask me for book recommendations. And often a lot of the books, if you've been on my channel for a while, are not really appropriate for young readers. And so this one was in the young reader section and it is called Before We Were Free by Julia Alvarez. And it is all set in the Dominican Republic, which I'm excited about. I've never read a book set in the Dominican Republic before. And I believe it's about things that have happened in the Dominican Republic around the 1960s onwards. And I believe Alvarez herself, I'm not sure if she's from there, but it says that she and her partner actually established a sustainable coffee farm and literary center in the Dominican Republic. So she's clearly got some kind of links there. So I'm really curious to to read this book and find out more about the Dominican Republic. And also, hopefully, if it's good, recommend it to some of my students in the future to encourage them to read books from all around the world as well. Okay, another book I picked up was Human Acts by Han Kang. This is a Korean writer. I've read a couple of books set in Korea before. Some of you know I've mentioned The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C, which I absolutely love. And there was another book as well that I recommended, which is going to be on one of my queer lists for queer books. And because the writer writes a lot about the young gay experience in Seoul, which was quite interesting. Apparently, this one is quite grueling. As I picked it up, a fellow teacher told me, oh, I've read that. It's going to make you cry. It's all about a violent student uprising, and one of the students gets killed. I assume this is going to be kind of a little bit of more recent historical fiction. And this writer was actually very famous. I keep hearing about this book, but I've not read it yet, who wrote The Vegetarian, which I keep hearing about. So that's definitely a book that I want to read as well. So I'm excited for this. It says here that it speaks the unspeakable, which sounds quite an interesting way to put it. But I think definitely there's going to be a bit of another traumatic book to read, I think, this one. Okay, and my last one for this library book haul is called Tram 83 by Fiston Mwanza Mujila. Again, it is a translated book. It was actually the winner of the English Pen Award, which a few of the books I keep picking up were winners of this award. And this, on the back, it actually doesn't say which country it's set in. It says it's in a war-torn African city-state. And I really like this part. It says it's an observation of human relationships in a world that's become a global village. It's an African rhapsody hammered by rhythms of jazz. So honestly, I've got no idea what it's about or what to expect. So I'm quite excited for something like perhaps totally different to anything that I've read before. I believe Tram 83, the name of the book, is the only nightclub in the city. So I guess it's potentially going to be about all the different people that meet there. And it talks about locals and all these different nationalities, students, expats, and a lot about the exploitation of wealth of the country. So that could potentially be, I'm guessing, why they haven't named the exact country, that perhaps it's an allegory for various different African nations. So quite excited to read this as well. After I finished, I will, of course, give you the updates and the reviews of the book. So subscribe if you're interested in that. Thank you for listening.